my life really matter? With everything going on in America today, I'd be remiss and socially irresponsible if I didn't speak on it. I often wonder how my white friends really view me. Some of them say that they don't view color, they don't see me as a black man. They view us all together, all as one race. But in today's social climate, that's just illogical. I personally want to be viewed as a strong, intelligent black man. Despite our cultural differences, I want you to still look at me as a black man and respect the fact that we don't come from the same backgrounds, but we come from the same essence as being a human. Just because we're different culturally doesn't mean that I shouldn't be respected just like you. By saying that you're colorblind and that you don't see my color is essentially dismissing the historic greatness of my ancestors. This upcoming presidential election has brought out the worst in people and is showing everybody's true colors. And despite this, some people can't understand that the police brutality against people that look like me is at an all-time high right now. Sometimes I really sit and wonder how my non-black friends will react if I was killed by a road cop. Would they try to justify my death by saying that I should have complied despite hard video evidence that I did? Or would they say that they needed to see more evidence and more film prior to the incident that got me shot? For the most part, I would think the majority of people would say that I'm a nice guy, highly intelligent, articulate, especially for a young black man. But would those same things be said about me if I were killed for reaching in my glove compartment, reaching for my license and registration? A couple weeks ago, Colin Kaepernick sat down during the national anthem and protested the police brutality that's going on against unarmed black men. By doing so, he sparked a fire between people that agree with him and people that disagree with him. Unfortunately, the majority of people are focusing on the act of him sitting down or kneeling during the national anthem and not exactly what he's protesting for. A couple weeks later, here we are now with more unarmed black men slain in the streets, slain in their cars. For what? It's hard to speak for a majority group of people, especially an ethnic group, but I'm quite sure that I can say for the most part, we never asked for any special treatment or to be treated better. We only ask to be treated equally and demand justice. If a person has committed a crime, lock him up. Give him his due process. I've seen many a video for a gang of cops to run up on one person and yet they still murder him in cold blood. That's not bravery to me. I have many friends that are in law enforcement and I view them as brave. But all that goes out the window if 5 people can't apprehend one person without shooting them. Too often I hear the excuse, well, he should have just complied. Last I checked, non-compliance isn't a crime that's punishable by death. And furthermore, it's within your constitutional rights to resist an unlawful arrest. I also tend to hear the statement that more whites are killed than blacks by police officers. While this is true, you have to look at the percentages, as whites make up more of the population in the United States than African Americans do. Therefore, we can determine, since African Americans make up less than 15% of the population in America, someone like me is 7 times more likely to be killed by a police officer. My favorite justification for African Americans being murdered is, well, what about black on black crime? Black people have an issue in their own community. While this is an issue, over 80% of crimes committed by whites are against other whites, which determines that crime is based on proximity and living situations. They also say that riots aren't the solution and they aren't the answer. I also say this very country was built on the fact of riots over sugar and tea and taxes. Often Martin Luther King is quoted during times of unrest like this, and he said that riots are the voice of the unheard. Those who wave Confederate flags say that if you don't like the country, you should just leave. But using historical context, Confederates actually committed treason against the very fiber of America. By not wanting to give up their slaves and not wanting to give up their rights, they actually committed a war against the United States, the same country that they fight so hard for right now. By using that simple logic, who should be getting out of the country? The social disconnect between those who are so-called real Americans is sickening and it's frightening. At this point, ignorance is only a choice. We live in the age of information. I'm no longer in the business of trying to teach someone why we are protesting or why we're upset at social injustice, and affected from the results of slavery and Jim Crow laws to this very day. There is an example of if you grow up in an abusive household, you witness your mother get beaten, all the way up until you were able to move out of the house. More than likely, you would need therapy. Just think what kind of therapy a whole entire ethnic group would need after 400 years of abuse. Almost an entire ethnic group is crying out simply for justice. I feel if you really want to be compassionate, all you have to do is ask somebody. Ask someone that's been through it. Ask someone that's currently passionate about the state of America right now as a person of color. If you can't sit there and understand the hurt and anguish without getting upset and having that guilt within yourself, so quick to respond that I wasn't a slave owner and slavery was so long ago. If you could just sit there and understand and try to empathize, only then can things start to get better. So again, I ask the question, does my life really matter? This has been Matt Speaks, and I just spoke on it.